Warning: the following, for some reason, has really low picture quality. But hey, so does the movie I'm going to talk about. Nonetheless, if you find it distracting, then just listen to the review. You won't be missing much. Alright, have fun.
All right, picture this. You're watching a movie with your friends, right? And it looks like you could have made it in your backyard. The acting's terrible, the cinematography's crap, and the special effects, if there are any, are absolutely lousy. And you tell it to the screen. Every couple of minutes, one of you yells something like, the cinematography's crap, or, oh my gosh, could she act any worse? And I mean like every couple minutes. You guys are just firing them off because the movie is so bad. Here's the thing. Inside, you're enjoying every single minute of it. You don't have to admit it, but I know. So are your friends, by the way. Otherwise, one of you would have walked out of the room or turned the movie off. Which brings me to this week's selection, called Ominous. Welcome to my review. This ought to be fun.
There exist cinematic marvels. Citizen Kane, the original Frankenstein, The Godfather, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Titanic? Maybe. Anyhow, Ominous isn't one of them, but I've enjoyed it more than once, and that's why I've chosen it, odd as the choice may be. First, the rundown. A man who has previously had an affair attempts to put his family back together. He buys the old property that his wife grew up on, rebuilds the now dilapidated family home, and takes his wife and kids to it for a 3-day vacation, in which his daughter is having a birthday. Complications arise when an old doll is found in the backyard, and things of a paranormal nature begin to happen in the house. Religiously cliché, this is the kind of script that a studio exec would read and think to himself, what the heck, it'll make a few bucks, provided that he even greenlights it. That did not happen in this case. It's easy to tell by the cinematic quality, or lack thereof. But what Ominous lacks in quality it more than makes up for in effort, and that could be why I find it strangely cathartic. Now the actor who plays the dad in this film looks like he just completed a certain other project, put his clothes back on, and wandered over to the set of this movie. Either that or they traveled back in time to a college campus in the 90s and snagged themselves a frat brother right before he could put the bleach in his hair. His acting is not like his appearance, however. Not to say I would cast him myself, but his character seems to wear the encompassing yoke of guilt in every line, every scene, every frame. His voice is relentlessly soft and tender, even when he needs to get firm with his son when he smarts off at the dinner table. The actress who plays the wife has two looks. One normal look and one upset look. On cue she goes from normal to upset simply by scrunching her eyes and frowning. You know that thing your mother used to say to you when you'd go cross-eyed? If you keep doing that, it's gonna stay that way. Well, let's just say that if there's any truth to that, then this poor woman still looks like she's been sucking lemons. In the last 25% of this movie, she had the upset look. It was actually great. The kids are kids. That is to say, there was nothing unique about a single one, and nothing would have changed had they all been played by other kids. That's not to say they did badly, because they didn't. They did exactly what they should have done with the lines and characters they were given. And that's the thing with this movie. Its plot was in a horror safe zone. The cinematographer clearly had skills in standard filming style. There were a few jump scares, or attempted jump scares, depending on who you ask. And the actors weren't any worse than Paris Hilton, and she got people in theater seats. My point is, Ominous had the recipe for a formulaic quickie that would put some cash in the studio's pocket. But one look at it, and it's a good assessment that that's not what was the case here. I do believe it was an independent project, thus making it an acquisition if a studio had anything to do with it at all. Acquisitions are great, and I'm working on a project right now that I hope will be acquired by a studio. It'll be a cool few million in my pocket if I have to opt out of the royalties. But it's a win-win. Now this film ended up being distributed by Midnight Releasing in 2011, where it was a DVD release in the US. Eventity Entertainment released it for Swedish television in 2013, and its first distributor was Maxim Media International in 2010. And IMDb just said all media for that one. but it was completed in 2009. Anyway, so this film made the rounds and possibly made back its estimated $28,685 budget. Now, the reviews on this were savage, but you have to discount many of them because the reviewers were probably just fooled by the low quality, or were their eyes opened by it. As I've said, it had the recipe for a mediocre but ultimately successful horror film. Would these same reviewers be tearing it apart for the acting, music, and writing had the production looked more expensive? Well, maybe. But for some, maybe not. But it's easy to tear apart a film and be brutal when you're sitting alone in front of a computer. Hmm, this is awkward. But actually, I'm not telling people to refrain from watching this movie. It's cliché and looks awful against a big studio release. That can't be denied, and I'm sure the filmmakers themselves will acknowledge this as fact. But I liked it. It's a comfort. It's the kind of film you watch on a rainy day with a blanket and some mac and cheese. Try it. It's on YouTube for free. Just search Ominous. You'll see the same poster that I showed at the beginning of this review. Happy watching.
All right, so I'm not saying make a date night out of this movie, but it's okay to like it. Anyway, before I sound like I'm convincing myself, I'll see you next week.